The House also passing the Save America Act, a measure restricting mail-in ballots, requiring photo ID at polling places and mandates for proof of citizenship before registering to vote. President Trump talking about the act just moments ago.
It's the Save America Act, and the Democrats are against it. I heard one of them say, we will stop the Save America Act. No, we're trying to save America. And it has to do with largely voting. And basically, it's got three very simple points. It's got voter ID, photo ID, but voter ID with a photo, right? It's got the confirmation of U.S. citizenship. You have to be a citizen, so you have a vote.
My next guest is the author of that bill, which he says will make elections great again. Joining me now, Republican Congressman of Wisconsin, Bryan Steil. Congressman, critics, of this bill say it's a solution in search of a problem, given how incredibly rare voter fraud is. Your response?
I think this is an opportunity to regain Americans' confidence in our elections. It's got two core principles. One, U.S. elections should be for U.S. citizens only, and we confirm citizenship upon registering to vote. In photo identification, to make sure that people are who they say they are. I'm of the belief that this is core common sense principles that we need in our elections across the country. It will increase Americans' confidence in our elections, and we have seen time and again, as we institute common sense election integrity in our elections, confidence goes up, and as a result, more people are likely to participate, and that's a good thing for our democracy.
So, but the Conservative Heritage Foundation found in data from the last 30 years just a handful of reported cases of fraud amongst millions and millions of ballots cast, and none of them shifted the election outcome.
Well, this is about instilling trust in our elections. We need to make sure that we're enforcing the law. And so how do we make sure that only U.S. citizens are voting in our elections? We make sure that individuals at the point of registration show that they are U.S. citizens. It's common sense, and I think it's a core principle. And the second being that we're showing photo identification, that people are who they say they are. 36 states across the country have photo ID requirements at the point of voting. We think 50 states should have photo identification requirements. If you have to use your photo ID to board an airplane, open a bank account, or buy a six-pack of beer, you should absolutely be required to show photo identification when voting.
Don't you think that Trump is undermining trust, though, in the whole election process with this idea?
I think it's actually the opposite. I think this is our opportunity to regain America's confidence in our elections. We could look back at the state of Georgia that passed voter integrity legislation in 2021. And despite the hyperbole and fear-mongering from Democrats at the time, we can look back at the past two major statewide elections in the state of Georgia. We see surging turnout, and we see people satisfied with how the elections are operating. And so by putting in place common sense election integrity reforms like the Save America Act, I think we actually have a real opportunity here to instill the trust that the American people need in our elections.
But he claimed that he won the election in 2020, and he didn't. And then just recently had his FBI raid the Georgia election office, and now there's an ongoing lawsuit. I mean, doesn't all of that right there cause an overall distrust in the system?
I think people actually look back at how the elections were operated in 2020 and recognize that we need clear rules of the road to reinstate the trust that all Americans need to have in how our elections are run. We can look at some of the bluest states in the country, for example, those that don't require photo ID, and recognize as a country that we are actually going to be better off if we implement common sense election integrity reforms across the country so that Americans don't need to question or do question the election results. They can have confidence that these elections are being run fairly and equally across the country.
There's also concern that it imposes barriers for people who don't have the financial means to get new ID. You say you have solutions, though. What are they?
Well, every state across the country is required to provide identification to individuals that don't have means. That's explicit at the state level and at the federal level. We need to make sure that if there is someone who truly doesn't have the financial means to be able to obtain identification, that they're able to do that. That's important. My home state of Wisconsin has that in place while we have photo identification. Making sure that this is not a financial burden is important, and I think the legislation accomplishes that goal.
Congressman Bryan Steil, appreciate your time today.
Thank you.